This time, just kind of going over the basic lore of the world we will be in, um, but specifically one of the three, two and a half major players. Those major players being, first off, the many islands in what is being called the Great Sea or Great Ocean by the other two nations or alliances on either side of this world. Those two nations to the west is the continent of Suna, um, and the major player on that side of the world would be the Phoenix Alliance, which is a collection of allied city states and nations, not all human, not all, elf, very diverse, actually. Um, and this alliance has formed for the betterment of each other, um, and they are very technologically and arcanely. That's a word, right? We're just going to use it. It came out of my mouth, and you know what it means, so it's a word. Driven. So they are always up to try new things when it comes to inventions and magic, and sometimes it blows up in their faces. But this collection of nations are responsible for mechanically driven flying machines being in this world. There are um, rumors of explosive powder. These seem to be very tightly guarded by even um, members of the group, and that's the Phoenix Alliance. But what I really wanted to get into is going to be towards the east, because starting out, that's really what we're going to be dealing with um, as the first group of you are all going to be from there. So the Altmari Dominion to the east, on the continent of uh, Lumia, they are a theocracy. They are ran by the Luminescence, a council of the high priests of the Church of the Nine. Um, these priests rule the Dominion, guided by their God's power and divine truth. That truth being, in this case, all magic comes from the gods. All power comes from the gods. And to say otherwise is blasphemy. And blasphemy has no place in the God's land of Suna. I'm sorry, not Suna, Lumia. To this end, the more militant aspects of the Dominion will find, hunt, and dispose of heretics and apostates. Um, all those whose, you know, all those whose power comes from demons or knowledge given by demons are at best exiled, and at worst, they're disposed of. Now, the Luminescence has their reasons for this staunch position against anything other than divine magic, frankly, with rare exceptions that you will find out as time goes on. Sorry, just scrolling down to the next. So in ancient times, the first people of this continent of Lumia made a great nation. That nation's name has been lost to time, and it is now called Proto-Altmari. Proto-Altmari. Their capital was a flying city, which had once dominated the entire continent, if not even the world. This city, however, was powered by what is, at least now, definitely considered demonic magic, alchemy, hedge witch spells, and dark otherworldly patrons. And basically, it eventually spiraled out of control, and mortals became not even slaves. They were basically food sources and bargaining chips that these different Dark Lords used for power. Um, the gods only took notice of this, or only seemed to care about this, because it was, from their perspective, they kind of saw this as, the mortal's own dang fault. They only took notice when some of these more powerful dark beings, we'll call them, started to claim the title of gods. So the gods, the creator gods, chose mortals that were individually worthy of their particular notice and power, and chose them to be their avatars. So these avatars and this dark nation went to war, and the Dark City eventually fell. And it's said to be deep, deep under the water of the Great Ocean. That battle, however, is responsible for what people call in Lumia the scar. So it's to the I'll get a map together at some point, to the southeast, the extreme southeast of the Altmari Dominion, and it's a desert in a very Saharan type of feel, but people do venture in there, and the few people who do come back talk of demons, the undead, devils, and just nameless horrors from the Proto-Altmari. But they also come back with treasures. So the Altmari Dominion tracks these relics. Not only tracks them, but actively seeks to claim them. It's a little bit of an arms race, where the Altmari Dominion thinks themselves as the protector of the people from these magical relics, that no one but them, the luminescence, frankly, have the moral guidance, or have the ability to guide people in the correct moral use of these powerful and possibly dark items, which is very interesting, considering their opposition to anything that doesn't come from the gods. So the way they seem to excuse this is that the gods allow and decide that they, the Altmari Dominion and the Luminescence, find these items. Strong-willed and faithful protectors of the people, the Dominion do their part to find these things, and lock them away so that they can't be used for evil, or use them but only for good. And these people are known as enchanters. Now, the journey, these enchanters journey. They're adventurers, but they are, we could say, licensed by the Altmari Dominion to find these dangerous objects and venture into this dark, evil place. Because in the past, people have gone there, come back changed, with, new warlock packs, and, coming back, possessed by demons. So only the most, strong-willed, faithful people can become enchanters, and serve the people. So you actually have found yourselves in the employ of one of these enchanters, and his name is Lord Enchanter Escanor. And you're not going to Proto Altmari yet. Maybe, down the road you decide. Right now, you have actually been tasked by him from the Luminescence with exploring, colonizing. Wow, one of the many small islands in the Great Ocean. The Luminescence actually has taken to calling these islands the Luminant Isles. However, no one other than them call them that. It is not catching on, particularly by the locals who are just like, this is our home. No, you don't get to name our home. But they think, one day, after years of trade and good relations, the locals of this island and the Dominion will intermix to the point where they just, wake up one day and realize that, yeah, they're part of the Dominion. The island that you have been sent to has no name yet. Has no towns, no signs of any civilization. So it's been decided that after 1 year's time of your team being on the island, the first group of settlers will be arriving. And that group of settlers, again, will be arriving in 1 year, and it's your job to make sure that this island is as ready as it can be. So that is your task. And good luck, adventurers.